This is the Add Extension wizard that allows you to add an extension to your PBX in 3 steps. Step 1 involves entering the extension info. First, we'll need an extension number. It can be anything of your choosing. Then we need a first and a last name for our company directory. A description that will be used in the online account, and a ring to number to send the calls to. Next, we must choose how to route the call. We can choose Direct Connect to send that call directly to the ring to number or the voicemail if it's forced. We can choose to use Call Hunt, which will go through a series of numbers one after the other. We can choose Call Blast, which will send it to a series of numbers at the same time. Or we can queue the callers to wait for an available agent. We'll get more into those in just a second. Next, we choose how to identify that caller, called Voice Caller ID. Simple Connect means that we'll pass that call through without any identification. But we can also choose Call Screening, where the system will ask for the caller's name and inform you of that name before you receive the call. Call Announce, where the system will let you know that a call is coming from the PBX before you answer. Or play a memo if you've previously recorded a memo for that caller. Next, we choose whether or not to record the call. The recorded call will stay on the server for a limited amount of time, where you can download it. Lastly, we choose whether or not we want the voicemail enabled, disabled, or forced. Disabling the voicemail means we don't want the voicemail to answer at all. Enabling the voicemail means that the voicemail will pick up after a set number of rings. And forced means that the voicemail will pick up automatically without going to that ring to number. Let's change our routing option to Call Hunt and then proceed to the next step. In step 2, we'll deal with that call routing that we just changed. Again, we have a few choices. We can forward the call simultaneously to multiple numbers at once, forward the calls sequentially, one at a time, or queue the caller to wait for an agent, or lastly, we can choose simply to direct connect without going through multiple operators. Let's look at forwarding sequentially. To forward sequentially, we first put in our operators' numbers. Then we can set how many times to ring each operator. Let's leave it at 2 in this case. And the times of day that they work. Let's set this one at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And lastly, what day of the week each person works. Let's look at what we've done here. If a call comes in on Monday between 9 and 5 p.m., these 2 operators are available. The call will first go to operator number 1 for 2 rings, then operator number 2 for 2 rings, and then because nobody else is available, the call will go to voicemail or hang up if it's unavailable. Same applies on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the situation is a little bit different. Operator number 1 is available, and operator 3 is available, but operator 2 is not. So if that caller called during the hours that they were available, the call would go to operator number 1 for 2 rings, and then operator 3 for 2 rings, and then to voicemail if available, or hang up if it's not. Thursday, the same situation applies. On Friday, the call would only go to operator number 1 for 2 rings, and then voicemail or hang up. And on Saturday and Sunday, we have nobody available. The calls would go to voicemail or hang up. Let's look at forwarding the calls simultaneously. Forwarding simultaneously works just the same as forwarding them sequentially, except that when somebody calls and operators are available, it goes to all the operators at once. In this situation on Monday, in between these times, the call would go to operator 1 and 2 at the same time for 2 rings, and after that it would go to voicemail and then hang up. On Wednesday, the same situation but with operators 1 and 3. On Friday, only operator 1 is available. And on Saturday and Sunday the call would go directly to voicemail or hang up if there's no voicemail available, since nobody is selected. Call queuing works just the same way, except that callers wait in a queue until an operator is available. And we can put it back to direct connect, which means that we simply have the calls going directly to that ring-to number that we set previously, or to voicemail if it's forced. And here we can set the number of rings. On step 3, we set up our voicemail settings. Earlier we set it to enabled in step 1, but we can also disable or force it. Again, disabled means that there's no voicemail enabled at all, and will never pick up. Enabled means that the voicemail will pick up after the given number of rings. And forced means that the ring-to number won't be called at all, but simply the caller will go straight to voicemail. Let's move it to enabled. Here, we set the maximum message size. Here, the number of rings before the voicemail picks up. If your personal phone on your ring-to number picks up at 6 rings, you'd want to set this at 1 less, so that this will pick up before your own personal voicemail does. Here, we can select the maximum capacity in terms of messages in your mailbox. And here we can choose whether or not to attach a WAV file of our voice clip to that email. And that email address we plug in right here. And this address is where the notification will be sent whenever a voicemail is received. We can also choose to customize our greeting before proceeding to the next step. We can record a greeting through the phone by following these instructions. You can order a greeting from one of a few different templates. These greetings are then ordered, and you should receive them within 1 day or 2 business days. You can also upload your own WAV file greeting here by browsing and then uploading the file. Lastly, you can access your voicemail to listen to them by phone by following these instructions. When you're all done with this step 3, you can click Next. And then we receive confirmation that the extension has been added successfully.